Thank you for watching and hanging out with me today. I'm Bryan of Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm, and we're talking about age-based investing. Have you taken a moment before we get started? Have you taken a moment to download the app or connect with AfroEconomics on Twitter, and make sure that you download the app, and most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you hopefully are watching right now on YouTube, but make sure you subscribe, and I hope that I share with you something that you'll really like and that you'll enjoy it. I just thought about something, the conference call. We need to make sure that anybody is like on the conference call. I'm sorry. I going to make sure that we make every attempt to add them onto the line. And the don't know. Yeah, we're gonna. Let me see. You could. Well, we're not going to be able to. So hopefully, to everybody with the conference call, I'm going to make sure that we send you this link, so that you can hear the broadcast. Because Nishita, unfortunately, I haven't showed her how to log you in. So we will keep going. I've been having a really great morning, as you can tell. So today we're going to talk about age-based investing. Now, do we really think that age is, and these are my notes over here, so do we think that age is the best factor when we're talking about the investment selection? Is age the best thing that you should think about when you're picking your investment options, when you're selecting investments? Well, I think that age is definitely a factor, but fear is a factor too. And when I say fear, I mean your risk factor. And on the jbbryan.com website, I have this risk calculator, because I think that risk is very important. That you could be young, and in most circumstances, they say, well, you're young, so you should take on a lot of growth opportunities, which means being more, you're exposing your portfolio to more risk and more volatility. But everyone that's young really isn't ready to stomach that. And sometimes I've found when I talk to people, especially family members, and they'll tell me stories about when they purchased their first stock, the first stocks that they purchased, and what happened with their first stock purchases. At a young age, they really didn't have any professional assistance. They didn't make the proper choices. So what happened is they ended up with actually not having a positive experience with their stock selections. So if you're young and you don't understand what you're doing, you want to make sure that you get a better understanding of your investment options. And just because you're young, it doesn't mean that you should just be very aggressive with your investment choices. So make sure that you put in comments if you're a young or older person and you have questions. Put your comments now. Hopefully the YouTube will allow you to add the comments in. Last week we couldn't do that, so my phone is over here having a good time, and it's probably hopefully that everybody that if they do text it, we can get back to them and tell them please sign into YouTube, because we didn't link up that we actually have a conference call link. So if you can't do the YouTube, you can go in there, and you can also email us at the AfroEconomics website and click through to the email, and we can send you the link for today's discussion. So let's go on with age. Is age the best factor with investment selection? So I think that age is a factor. Age is to be considered, but most importantly, we have to look at you holistically, and there are ways that we can do that. I can actually analyze your risk level, and regardless of your age, I want to make sure that you're investing appropriately to the level of risk that you are comfortable with. So some things that you should think about while in your 20s is your specific lifestyle. If you're in your 20s and you don't have a lot of debt that someone else is going to inherit, then you can make different choices about the financial goals that you may have. Where if you are young and you and do have a traditional family, let's say, and you're in your 20s, then you have the challenge of making sure that you have the protection And by buying protection that will take care of any debts that you have at a young age, buying it while you're young is a lot cheaper. So, and I'm talking specifically about like life insurance that you can get that will pay off all of your debts if you know, pass while those debts are still due. So regardless of your age, if you have someone who is depending on you to assist in making the payments and paying for those particular debts that you may have, then say you have a home mortgage and you want it to be paid off upon your death, then you need to have life insurance. And that would be, if you have it, if you have the debt and you have it with someone else, you need to have the coverage on the other person as well, so that if you want that debt to be paid off upon the death of either one of you. So having those types of protection, and the earlier the better, of course, because it's cheaper to insure you while you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. Today is the youngest day that will be if we live to see tomorrow, correct? So, and in the 20s also, we want to avoid debt. And we want to make sure that we are looking for growth opportunities, but we want to make sure that the growth opportunities, and I'm speaking specifically about individual stocks or stock mutual funds, that they're well researched and that they have a good long historical performance that they can provide for you. So that's where getting professional assistance, in my opinion, that I think you'll do better by having someone to assist you in making your specific investment selections. But why would you say a young person would focus more on growth? It's because and stocks and stock mutual funds fall into the growth investment category. And that's because the investor has a lot more time before they'll need it. But if we look at at every age, you need to have growth inside your portfolio. But as you age, and we're say 50s and 60s, and in the 60s and 70s, you start depending more on that portfolio for income, then your investment choices may move away from the growth investment area or your percentage of exposure to the growth area, and it might move more to even larger companies that pay dividends, or may have more bonds and corporate bonds, government bonds. There's a lot of options on how to increase the income in your portfolio as well. And the mutual funds, that's their job. They do that for you. And as an investment advisor, it's my job to pick investments appropriately for your risk tolerance, for your age, and for your specific goals that you have. And that's financial planning is the biggest. Planning in general is a big decision, and the earlier in life that you start making financial planning decisions, the better. I'm going to try to make more of an effort to actually look at the camera. My daughter told me, look at the camera, mom, and look at the camera, mom. But it's like weird because the camera's dot is like way up there. But so if my daughter is watching, I want to let her know, because she left school early today for Veterans Day, that I thought about you, baby, and I'm trying to look at the camera to the best of my ability. So and happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all my veterans out there. I have quite a few clients that are active military, in the reserve military, and that are retired military, a lot of friends. So happy Veterans Day, that all of us who benefit from your work, we really appreciate it. So these are the challenges that veterans have, and it's amazing the large percentage of the Black community. From an AfroEconomics perspective, a large percentage of our income comes from a large percentage of us work for the federal government or even local governments in some capacity. It's amazing, the numbers. So that means that we probably have quite a few veterans and quite a few people who are supporting veterans through their work for the government entities. So let's think about, we talked about the 20s and some of the things that those of you in your 20s, or those of you who have some people in your family in their 20s to be thinking about. And I have down for those of you hanging out with me on AfroEconomics with Bryan, that in your 20s, you should think about education. Education is the biggest investment that you can make, and avoiding debt. If you can get your education that you desire without accumulating a lot of debt, then that would be perfect. So education, best investment, avoiding debt, education, and training. So we need to look beyond. That's our basic idea when you say education and you're just thinking college. No, I'm thinking get some good training. That's something that you enjoy, furthering your education beyond high school in any capacity, and to expand your knowledge in something that you really enjoy and would like to spend your life serving others through doing it. And your 30s. In the 30s, typically we start spending a lot of money. We make a lot of money spending mistakes. We start accumulating a lot more debt. And so one of the big tips for 30s is to make sure that you avoid making those money blunders, that you avoid like wasting the money. Like when you're in your 20s, you may have actually made some really good decisions. And in the 30s, you're like, oh, I've worked a long time. I've worked 5 years for this company and I'm switching jobs, and you decide to spend all of the money that you accumulated in your 20s. Well, no, that's a money mistake. Be very careful when doing job transition that you stay the course into your retirement accounts if they have one available for you at your job, or start taking the retirement account participation very seriously. Make sure that you have your money allocated appropriately. There's some information that I've seen a lot of discussion on the target funds. Target funds are, in the majority of the work, provide retirement plans out there. And those are mutual funds that say, oh, when do you think you're going to retire? And you pick that particular fund based on the day that you decide to retire. Well, that mutual fund is making automatic changes in the portfolio. So you need to be careful with just picking a target fund and then forgetting all about it, because you may pick a particular target date, but that mutual fund has different plans for people who have that particular target date than what your risk tolerance or what your financial goals are. So sometimes when things are too easy and it's just a little check the box and put it all in there, get the assistance and look a little deeper. Don't be so quick to just pick that one fund just because it's available for you and the date looks about the time and when you'll retire. But let's look deeper into that. So in 30s, want to avoid mistakes, avoid making any inappropriate changes. If you have children at this point, you want to make sure that you have those, wills set up, get your power of attorney set up, get all the legal documents that you'll need to make sure that the children are protected if something were to happen to you. Of course, life insurance, disability insurance, full participation into your retirement accounts will be great, and avoid overspending. And what about in your 40s? Your 40s, we're talking about retirement maximization. We want to maximize our retirement participation, just like in every age, really. But in our 40s, maybe the kids are a little bit older. You can work a little harder. I know that now I work harder than I did, when I was younger. I'm trying to so my paper will sit up for me. See, I guess if I speak louder, the paper will listen, right? So so that you may also be in the same situation. You have children, and then as you get older, you're able to spend a little bit more hours in your work. Now, I would say she has so much homework that we're together, but she's doing her homework and I'm doing my work, and we are working. So I would say I probably get in at least when I'm not asleep, I'm working. I'm working on my dream. So in our 40s, we're talking about maximizing our retirement, doing the proper allocation of our retirement accounts. We want to make sure that we're maximizing our income also. And we want to maybe make some shifts a little bit. You may, in your 40s, if you're in tune with what your risk tolerance is, and you have some deeper commitments, you may have decided that in your 40s, your risk level is a little bit lower than it was in your 20s and 30s, possibly. So we may need to make some changes in your allocation of your investments. You may start to reduce your exposure to the equities, the stocks, and the stock mutual funds, and start, moving more towards the bonds and the corporate bonds, the government bonds areas. So you may have been 80%, growth, and 80% equities in your 20s and 30s, and 20% in fixed income. And then as you move into your 40s, you may say, well, I think I want to reduce the stock position to 70, and then you move it, to a 70-30 allocation. But those are the, definitely, it's important. I encourage my clients that we talk at least once a year about going over their risk level, what things have happened, things have changed, because we grow and we change. And in your 40s, you start thinking about, you may have had some friends who have passed away, very quickly. So you start saying, I need to make sure that I have the proper amount of life insurance protection to make sure that these things are taken care of. And it all comes down to, your responsibilities. The first principle of AfroEconomics is, legacy, and for me, I believe that legacy, and I've made that the first principle, because I think that we do what we're doing with much more joy and commitment when we realize that we're doing it to make sure that of everybody else that is of importance to us is okay. I think that you do what you do with joy when you know why you're doing it. You first have to know, why am I doing it? And from knowing your why, you're able to focus on legacy planning and building, a future for your name and just the way you carry yourself. When we think about our legacy, and then when you're in your 40s, you really start thinking about the generations and the generations to come. And so we'll also have, so in your 40s, your income may be getting higher. Hopefully you're making the most money that you've ever made in your life. Your debts that you have for school have been paid off, and now you have that money available. But at the same time, you may have children about to go to college or in college in your 40s. So it opens you up to those additional responsibilities of, paying for the tuition that we've had all the years since they're born. You have the challenge of saving for your retirement, but also saving for your child's education. But when you have to choose what comes first, and what comes first, when you choose between child's education or retirement, what comes first?
Your child's education.
She said your child's education. She's so wrong, 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 wrong. If you can take care of yourself, your child will be very glad. So you have to make sure that your retirement is the first goal, because you cannot get a loan for retirement, but you can get a loan for your child's education. Yeah. So you gave me your sincere answer. Oh, that's so sweet. Exactly. Yeah. So we really want to focus on retirement first, and then also, realizing that we're going to, have to commit some funds towards having some money for educating our children. And then also, let me note that what underlies all of this is that you need an emergency fund. We need to have 3 to 6 months of our expenses readily available to us. And that's not a credit card, especially if there's something on the credit card. So a credit card with a balance is not an emergency fund, because that money has to be available for you for what you need. So that's so in your 40s, we're talking about maximizing our retirement plan contributions, making sure that we are familiar with our investment risk tolerance, and that our allocation, our money is investing and growing for us appropriately according to your risk tolerance. And there's so many people that get in the work retirement plan and they don't think about the allocation. They just say, I'm in the plan. But just being in it is not enough. Now we need to do well in it. We need to make sure that if you don't know exactly how to choose the options for your work retirement plan, then partner with a financial professional. And AfroEconomics, I'm right here for you, that make sure that you get some assistance on your proper investment allocations for your retirement accounts. The long-term care insurance, life insurance, it's time to start looking into those things. Lord, if when I talk about these things, I know you said, like, where what do I do? I mean, how do you live? I don't know how we do it, but we do it. And somehow what happens is we live and then we leave this part out. So maybe we need to think more about this part and then let the living kind of figure it out. And then when you have this part right, it gives you a lot more joy than a lot of other things. But it's so many things now that I've seen that where there's such a emphasis on how to escape from work. Like there's like this multi-level marketing travel plan. I'm like, well, how do these people get this time to do this type of traveling? There's no way that I would set up like payments. You have to pay each month, and then you have the right to buy a travel plan. They're like, so I'm paying each month to have the right to take a break from my work that pays for all of this. Oh my goodness. So I don't know. When I take a break, I don't want to have to go through anybody. I just call, take a break, spend my money, and go to the place. I don't care every time, but I don't know. That's just me. But that's why I feel that everybody should love their work. And because by the time you get into your 40s, like we're talking about, if you don't love your work, you're all frustrated, and you're dealing with health issues and everything. So I've had unfortunately so many friends dealing with chronic diseases in their 40s, and that's based on lifestyle choices that we make in our 20s and 30s in many cases. So we need to realize that even if you're in your 40s with a chronic disease, you can change that before you get into your 60s with that disease. We can change these things in many situations. So just make sure that you manage your life accordingly, because that could be a big expense of not being able to maximize your income because your health is not right. And then with your 50s, you have even more income. With your 50s, theoretically, I'm thinking that you're making more money. You have more money that you can keep to yourself. Let's just say the kids are like graduated from college. I don't know. In my 50s, my child would just be getting to college. But let's just say theoretically, for most people, they didn't wait as late as I did, and their children are getting out. They have some extra money available. They're even putting more. They used to do 10% into their retirement. Now you're 50, you want to do 15, 20%, the maximum, whatever it is you can put in, you want to put it away. You're thinking about your future. You want to really now, if you didn't do it in your 40s, you want to really take a closer look at the long-term care coverages, the life insurances. There's some creative ways to provide for long-term care needs now. Just contact me. And the retirement planning is important. We're talking about 50s and 60s. I encourage people to work as long as they can. And if you enjoy what you're doing, you can work as long as you can. Now I might get some YouTube comments on that. Everybody's being quiet, but work as long as you can, so that you can, make sure that when you do stop working, you don't ever have to go back. They say the worst thing is when you feel success, have success, and then you have to, because of bad choices, go back to the old lifestyle. So if you don't want that to happen, then you're going to have to stay and stay in work and accumulate your retirement fund as long as you can. And it'll also allow you to maximize your Social Security income as well. So when you're in your 60s, it's time to start really analyzing your Social Security income. It's time to really investigate your risk tolerance and your risk level and how much exposure you are. I meet people in their 60s and 70s with the majority of their assets in company stock. Say they work for XYZ company and they've got, 80% of their retirement account in that company stock. That's like way out of whack, in my opinion. They're exposed to a lot of risk when you have all of that in one company. It's like if you put your whole life savings into purchasing just that one building behind me, and you only have one tenant in it, versus if you purchased that building and you had 100 different tenants in the building, you have all these different ways. So you're more diversified in how it's going to benefit you, especially over the long term, right? Because you know that somebody in there is not going to do what they're supposed to do. So if you only have one source, then that one person doesn't pay that bill, then you're outie. And that's why I guess people like to say, if we look at it just from a real estate perspective, people like to break things into apartment buildings, right? Because they have so many more sources of income than if it was just, one building and one tenant in the building. So it better be a good tenant, right? So if you do that with your retirement savings and you put all your eggs into that one basket, that one company, or the majority of your eggs are just in that one basket, and you have all these other basket options and you didn't, spread it out, then shame on you for not getting professional assistance on your investment allocations, especially over time. And then when you're in your 70s and 80s and you've been forced and you're getting your Social Security income, in some situations, it's about talking with your financial advisor about making sure that you have all your legal documents set up correctly, that you want to, make sure that you have the proper estate plan. You want to make sure that if you have a long-term care coverage, you want to make sure, what is the definition of long-term care? Is it really what you thought that you purchased? I meet people all the time. They go, oh, I already have that. And then when they need it, they find out that they didn't have what they thought they had. Like they have something, but it's a year wait on it. Or they have something, they have a disability income policy, but it only covers out if they get this specific issue or this specific illness. I've seen those, and that they'll say, this is a cancer policy. But what if something else happens and you don't get cancer, but you get some other issue? And then that's not going to pay out because it's specifically for that need. So make sure that you speak with a financial advisor about what your specific goals are, and then how you want things. We're talking about people in their senior years who are not taking seriously how things are to be handled upon their death. And if you don't, no one will. There's so many families that argue and fight, especially in AfroEconomics. Black people are fighting way too much over the estates of people, when all of that could have been solved and the dispute could have been shut down while you're living, on how you want things to be handled. And make sure you always keep all of your beneficiaries and everything updated on how you want things to be transferred upon your death. There's people who have left or gone through a divorce, left companies, and never updated the forms of their previous employer where they had a pension plan, and then they die and they don't have your new spouse's information. So and every step along the way, every time you fill out a form and you say that this is your beneficiary, and if something changes in your life, make sure you update those things. Make sure you check on beneficiaries and listings on your personal financial things, on your employment financial things, whatever documents you have, at least once a year. Make sure you check and make sure that they have it set up the way that you like, that the Social Securities and the birth dates and the names and everything are correct, and how you want things to be transferred. That's why AfroEconomics starts with legacy, because we have to begin this journey with the end in mind. What type of footprint do we want to leave on this planet? Well, I want to make sure that I leave a positive footprint on the planet with you. And I thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm JB Bryan of JB Bryan Financial Group, the home of AfroEconomics. And our number is 1-844-JB Bryan. Please don't hesitate to give us a call or email me at jb@jbbryan.com. And we have a app, AfroEconomics app, and you also can get on our email list by visiting AfroEconomics.com. God bless all of you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Talk to you real soon.